Every apex predator across 7 alien worlds feared only one creature, but it wasn't human. It was a Honeybadger named Bandit, and his human companion Jake Sullivan was about to prove that sometimes the most unlikely partnerships write the greatest legends in galactic history. The emergency distress beacon cut through hyperspace like a scream, reaching the nearest outpost on Kepler 442b with a message that would make seasoned xenobiologists pause. Colony vessel Frontier's Edge requesting immediate assistance. Landed on uncharted world designated Serpentis Prime. Crew of 47 stranded. Unknown hostile megafauna. Repeat. Unknown hostile megafauna. Our weapons are ineffective. We have casualties. What the beacon didn't mention, what couldn't be quantified in standard distress protocols, was that the colonists had encountered something that defied every evolutionary model in the galactic database. Serpentis Prime wasn't just hostile. It was a world where the food chain had been turned inside out, where creatures the size of subway trains moved with the speed of striking vipers, and where humanity's most advanced plasma rifles barely scratched armored hide that had evolved in gravity 3 times heavier than Earth's. Commander Jake Sullivan of the Terran Rescue Corps stood in the briefing room of the Salvation, studying the fragmentary data streaming in from the colony ship. At 34, he was the youngest officer ever to lead deep space rescue operations, distinguished not by political connections or family legacy, but by an unusual methodology. He brought Earth animals to alien worlds, not for scientific study or terraforming experiments, but as partners. His reputation preceded him across 3 star systems, the human who fought alongside creatures that galactic civilization considered primitive pets. "Sir, we're getting more detailed transmissions now," reported Lieutenant Rodriguez, his communications officer. The young man's face was pale as he read the incoming data. The colonists, they're describing something called tunnel pythons, serpentine megafauna, estimated length between 60 and 100 meters, diameter averaging 4 meters. They move through underground burrow systems and emerge without warning. Jake's jaw tightened as he processed the information. Tunnel pythons. He'd never encountered them before, but the description triggered every survival instinct he'd developed over years of rescuing humans from hostile alien environments. These weren't just large predators. They were ambush specialists evolved for a world where prey had nowhere to run. "Weapons effectiveness report?" he asked, though he suspected the answer. "Minimal to none, sir. Standard plasma rifles can't penetrate the hide. Explosive charges have limited effect due to the creature's distributed nervous system. The colonists report that even direct hits to what appears to be the head region don't incapacitate the animals." Jake turned to the reinforced habitat pod in the corner of the briefing room, where his partner observed the proceedings with intelligent dark eyes. Bandit the Honeybadger was 2 years old, weighing in at a compact 12 kilograms of pure fearless determination. To most humans, he looked like an oversized ferret with an attitude problem. To Jake, he was the most effective alien world survival tool ever developed. "What do you think, buddy?" Jake asked, approaching the habitat. "Ready for another adventure?" Bandit's response was a characteristic snort and a display of his impressive claws, weapons that had proven effective against creatures from crystal shell beetles on Arcturus to the venomous spider wolves of New Brisbane. What made Honeybadgers invaluable on alien worlds wasn't their size or their weapons, but their complete inability to be intimidated by anything, regardless of how large, dangerous, or previously unknown it might be. The Salvation's senior xenobiologist, Dr. Patricia Okafor, entered the briefing room carrying a data pad filled with preliminary analysis. "Commander, I've been reviewing the limited footage the colonists managed to transmit before their communication array was damaged. These tunnel pythons, they're unlike anything in our xenofauna databases." She activated the holographic display, showing grainy footage of something massive moving through the colony's temporary structures. The image quality was poor, distorted by electromagnetic interference from the alien world's unusual magnetic field, but what they could see was enough to make experienced rescue personnel uncomfortable. "Estimated mass between 2 and 4 tons per specimen," Dr. Okafor continued. "Armored scales that appear to be reinforced with some kind of metallic compounds. But here's what's really concerning. They seem to hunt in coordinated groups. Pack behavior in serpentine megafauna is virtually unknown in our galactic surveys. Jake studied the footage, noting the creature's movement patterns. How many are we dealing with? Unknown, sir. The colonists report at least 6 separate encounters with what they believe are different individuals. But given the underground burrow system, there could be significantly more. And the colonists' current status? Lieutenant Rodriguez consulted his communications array. 37 survivors barricaded inside the colony ship's central hull. They've welded the external access ports shut, but the creatures have been testing the hull integrity. The colonists estimate they have maybe 72 hours before either hull breach or life support failure. Jake made his decision with the quick certainty that had made him legendary in rescue operations. Plot a course for Serpentis Prime. Maximum burn. Alert the medical bay to prepare for multiple casualties and have engineering prep the emergency shelter domes. He turned to Dr. Okafor. I want everything you can compile about serpentine hunting behaviors, with particular focus on pack coordination and territorial responses. Sir, Dr. Okafor said hesitantly, according to our preliminary analysis, conventional rescue protocols will be completely ineffective. These creatures have evolved specifically to hunt in environments where prey has limited mobility options. Standard human military doctrine won't. That's why we're not using standard human military doctrine, Jake interrupted, gesturing toward Bandit's habitat. We're using something the tunnel pythons have never encountered before. Something that doesn't follow galactic evolutionary patterns. Something that simply doesn't know how to be afraid. As the Salvation engaged its hyperdrive engines, racing toward a world where humanity's survival would depend on the partnership between advanced technology and an Earth animal that evolution had designed to be absolutely fearless, Jake felt the familiar mixture of excitement and responsibility that came with every rescue mission. But this time was different. This time, the stakes weren't just human lives, but proof that sometimes the greatest strength comes from the most unexpected partnerships. When humanity first began its expansion into the galaxy, they thought their advanced technology would make them apex predators on any world they encountered. Plasma weapons, powered armor, force shields, orbital bombardment capabilities, the arsenal of a species that had fought its way off a death world and claimed the stars. But Jake Sullivan had learned something in his 12 years of deep space rescue operations that most humans refused to acknowledge. Technology was only as effective as the wisdom guiding it. The Salvation dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Serpentis system, and immediately Jake understood why the colonists were in trouble. Serpentis Prime appeared on the main view screen like a predator's eye, a world of deep greens and violent reds, where massive storm systems moved across continents covered in what appeared to be jungle so dense that it created its own weather patterns. The planet's gravitational field was 2.8 times Earth standard, meaning everything that had evolved here was built like a tank and moved like it was compressed spring steel. Scanning for the colony ship, reported Lieutenant Rodriguez. Their coordinates 127.3 by 45.7, approximately 15 kilometers inland from the eastern coast. I'm detecting power signatures and life signs, but the readings are inconsistent. Dr. Okafor consulted her instruments. The electromagnetic interference is worse than our long-range sensors indicated. The planet's crust contains unusual metallic compounds that are creating a natural dampening field. Our communications will be limited to short range once we enter the atmosphere. Jake studied the sensor readings, noting the massive underground network of tunnels that honeycombed the area around the colony ship's landing site. The tunnel pythons hadn't just evolved to hunt on this world. They had literally reshaped it, creating a three-dimensional hunting ground where prey could be attacked from any direction, including directly below. Sir, Rodriguez said, his voice tight with concern, I'm reading massive biosignatures throughout the tunnel network, multiple contacts, each registering between 2 and 5 tons. They're moving in coordinated patterns. The rescue team gathered around the tactical display as Jake outlined their situation. The Salvation carried a crew of 12, all experienced in hostile world operations, but their standard equipment was designed for environments where human technology provided an advantage. Here, they would be entering a world where their enemies had every possible tactical benefit. Home terrain, superior physical capabilities, pack coordination, and immunity to their weapons. Standard doctrine would call for orbital bombardment to clear the landing zone, Jake explained to his team. But we can't use that option without risking the colonists. The tunnel systems extend directly underneath their position. He activated the holographic display showing the underground network. These creatures have turned the entire landing area into a trap. Every approach route leads through their hunting grounds. Chief Petty Officer Williams, the team's senior combat specialist, studied the display with professional interest. Sir, even if we could get our people to the colony ship, how do we extract 37 civilians through hostile terrain with creatures that are immune to our weapons? We don't use our weapons, Jake replied. We use theirs. He gestured toward Bandit's habitat, where the Honeybadger was methodically sharpening his claws on a piece of polymer designed specifically for that purpose. Honeybadgers evolved on a world where everything was trying to kill them. Venomous snakes, big cats, hyenas, crocodiles. They developed behavioral patterns specifically designed to deal with predators much larger than themselves. Dr. Okafor looked skeptical. Commander, with respect, these tunnel pythons are unlike anything Earth evolution produced. A Honeybadger might be fearless, but fearlessness alone won't. It's not just fearlessness, Jake interrupted. It's tactical methodology. Honeybadgers don't fight fair. They don't follow conventional predator-prey interactions. They attack weak points, they're relentless, and they absolutely refuse to acknowledge that retreat is an option. Most importantly, they hunt in ways that larger predators can't predict or defend against. He activated a training video showing Bandit during previous rescue operations. The footage showed the Honeybadger engaging creatures ranging from armored beetles the size of automobiles to flying predators with wingspans measuring 15 meters. In every case, Bandit's approach was the same. Identify the weak point, attack without hesitation, and maintain the assault regardless of the opponent's size or apparent advantages. Watch this sequence from our mission to Tau Ceti. Jake narrated as the video showed Bandit confronting a creature that resembled a cross between a bear and a scorpion. The ursine arachnid outweighs Bandit by a factor of 50 to 1. Its exoskeleton is resistant to plasma fire. Its claws can cut through reinforced steel. But watch what happens when Bandit targets the joint articulation between the creature's head and thorax. The team watched as the Honeybadger darted between the massive creature's legs, completely ignoring its defensive strikes, and delivered a series of precise attacks to what appeared to be an insignificant gap in the armor plating. Within seconds, the massive predator was immobilized, its nervous system disrupted by damage to a vulnerability that human analysis had missed entirely. Honeybadgers see weaknesses that human tactical analysis overlooks, Jake continued. They've been refined by millions of years of evolution to survive encounters with creatures specifically designed to kill them. And they do it not through strength or weapons, but through absolute determination and targeting vulnerabilities that larger predators don't even know they have. Lieutenant Rodriguez studied the biological data streaming in from Serpentis Prime. Sir, how do we know these tunnel pythons have similar vulnerabilities? Because every biological system has vulnerabilities, Dr. Okafor answered, her scientific excitement overcoming her initial skepticism. The more specialized a creature becomes for a specific hunting strategy, the more dependent it becomes on that strategy working perfectly. These tunnel pythons have evolved to be perfect ambush predators for prey that follows predictable escape patterns. Jake smiled as he watched Bandit complete his claw-sharpening routine and turn his attention to the humans discussing their mission. But Bandit doesn't follow predictable patterns. He doesn't run when he should run, doesn't fight when he should fight, and doesn't respect size advantages that should matter. To a creature evolved to hunt predictable prey, he'll be completely incomprehensible. The Salvation entered Serpentis Prime's atmosphere, heading toward a confrontation that would test whether humanity's greatest strength lay in their technology or in their willingness to partner with creatures that evolution had designed to be absolutely unstoppable. The Salvation touched down 3 kilometers from the colony ship, the maximum safe distance Jake could maintain while keeping their target within rescue range. The moment the landing ramp lowered, the team understood why the colonists' weapons had proven ineffective. The air itself seemed hostile, thick with humidity and charged with electromagnetic interference that made their equipment readings fluctuate wildly. More disturbing were the vibrations coming through the ground, a rhythmic pulsing that suggested massive bodies moving through underground tunnels. "Movement sensors are going crazy," reported Chief Williams, consulting his tactical display. "I'm reading contacts throughout the area, but they're not staying in one place long enough to get accurate counts or positions." Jake activated Bandit's portable habitat, a specialized exploration pod designed to protect Earth animals during initial planetary surveys. The Honeybadger emerged with characteristic confidence, immediately beginning his standard territorial assessment routine, testing the air with rapid sniffs, examining the ground composition, and marking several nearby landmarks with scent markers that would help him navigate in low-visibility conditions. "He's not showing any stress indicators," Dr. Okafor observed, monitoring Bandit through portable biosensors. "Heart rate normal, no elevated cortisol, normal exploratory behavior. Either he doesn't perceive the threat level or he simply doesn't care." "Both," Jake replied, watching as Bandit began methodically investigating the perimeter of their landing zone. Fear is a survival response designed to prevent unnecessary risks. Honeybadgers evolved in environments where retreat wasn't an option, so they developed behavioral patterns that simply don't include fear-based decision-making. The first tunnel python announced its presence by erupting from the ground 50 meters to their north, sending tons of earth and vegetation flying as its massive head emerged from what had appeared to be solid ground. The creature was larger than the colonists' reports had suggested, easily 80 meters long, with a diameter approaching 5 meters at its thickest point. Its scales were indeed reinforced with metallic compounds that gave them a bronze-green sheen, and its head moved with the fluid precision of a perfect killing machine. "Weapons free," Jake shouted, though he knew their plasma rifles would be largely ineffective. The team's shots struck the creature's armored hide with brilliant flashes but failed to penetrate beyond the surface scales. The tunnel python's response was immediate and terrifying. It oriented on their position and began moving toward them with shocking speed for something so massive. But Bandit's response was what made the entire rescue team stop and stare. Instead of fleeing from the approaching megafauna, the Honeybadger charged directly toward it, his aggressive chattering vocalization carrying clearly across the landing zone. Jake had seen this behavior before. It was Bandit's standard response to any creature he perceived as a potential threat. Size, weapons, apparent danger level, none of these factors influenced his tactical decision-making process. "He's actually attacking it," Dr. Okafor whispered, her scientific amazement overriding her concern for the animal's safety. The tunnel python had never encountered anything like Bandit. Its hunting strategy was optimized for prey that would attempt to flee, allowing it to use its superior speed and underground mobility to conduct pursuit and capture. Bandit's direct frontal assault was completely outside its behavioral programming, and its response showed the hesitation of a predator encountering something that didn't fit its predatory model. What happened next would become legendary in rescue operation reports throughout the galaxy. The tunnel python, faced with a small mammal charging directly toward its head, made the tactical error of treating Bandit like typical prey. It reared back to strike, opening its massive jaws to display fangs the size of combat knives, expecting the small creature to flee in terror. Instead, Bandit leaped directly into the creature's mouth. "What the hell is he doing?" Lieutenant Rodriguez shouted, unable to process what he was witnessing. Jake, however, understood perfectly. "He's hunting," he replied calmly, tracking Bandit's movement as the Honeybadger disappeared into the tunnel python's throat. Honeybadgers are specialized to hunt venomous snakes. Their standard attack pattern is to engage the head directly, targeting the throat and upper respiratory system. The tunnel python's reaction was immediate and violent. The massive creature began thrashing wildly, its body contorting as it attempted to dislodge the small predator that was systematically destroying its breathing apparatus from the inside. Its movements became increasingly erratic as Bandit, protected by his thick hide and natural resistance to most biological toxins, continued his methodical assault on the creature's most vulnerable internal systems. "Multiple contacts emerging," Chief Williams warned, as 3 more tunnel pythons erupted from underground positions around their landing zone. The rescue team was now surrounded by creatures that could crush their ship with their body weight alone, and their only ally was currently inside one of them, conducting what appeared to be a systematic demolition project. Jake activated his emergency communications array, managing to establish brief contact with the colony ship. Colony Vessel Frontier's Edge. This is Rescue Team Alpha. We have visual on your position and are engaging hostile fauna. What's your current status? The response was scratchy and intermittent due to electromagnetic interference. Rescue Team. This is Captain Morrison. 37 souls still alive. Hull integrity at 60%. Creatures have been testing our defenses for 18 hours straight. Don't know how much longer. The transmission was cut off as one of the newly emerged tunnel pythons struck the communications antenna with its tail, destroying their link to the colonists. The rescue team was now isolated, surrounded by creatures immune to their weapons, with their only tactical asset apparently committed to an internal battle with the largest predator any of them had ever encountered. Sir, Dr. Okafor reported, monitoring her biosensors. I'm still reading Bandit's vital signs. He's alive in there, and his stress indicators suggest he's enjoying himself. The first tunnel python's movements were becoming increasingly desperate. Its massive body coiled and thrashed, digging trenches in the hard-packed earth as it attempted to dislodge the small predator that was systematically disabling its major organ systems. But Honeybadgers had evolved specifically for this type of internal combat, their compact body size, reinforced bone structure, and natural resistance to toxins made them nearly impossible to dislodge once they had committed to an attack. Meanwhile, the 3 additional tunnel pythons were converging on the rescue team's position, their underground movement creating tremors that made standing difficult and rendered most of their equipment unreliable. The situation deteriorated rapidly as the tunnel pythons demonstrated why they were the apex predators of Serpentis Prime. Their coordination was unlike anything in standard xenobiological databases. Instead of competing with each other for territory or prey, they moved with the tactical precision of a military unit. 2 of the creatures positioned themselves to block any potential retreat to the Salvation, while the third began a systematic approach toward the rescue team's position. They're hurting us, Jake realized, watching the creature's movement patterns. These things don't just hunt in packs. They use complex tactical coordination. Chief Williams checked his ammunition supply and weapons status. Sir, we've got maybe 15 minutes of continuous fire, but it's not doing any significant damage. These creatures are built like living tanks. The first tunnel python, still struggling with its internal Honeybadger problem, suddenly went completely still. For a moment, Jake thought that Bandit might have successfully disabled the creature entirely. Then he saw the intelligence in its eyes, not the mindless fury of a predator in pain, but the calculating assessment of a sophisticated hunter adapting to unexpected circumstances. It's learning, Dr. Okafor whispered, her biosensors detecting changes in the creature's neurological activity. Its brain activity is shifting from instinctive response to problem-solving behavior. It's trying to figure out how to deal with Bandit's attack pattern. The tunnel python began a new strategy. Instead of trying to dislodge Bandit through violent movement, it started to systematically compress its throat muscles, attempting to crush the Honeybadger through sheer pressure. Jake had seen similar tactics from other large predators who had learned to adapt to Bandit's hunting methods, but he also knew that Honeybadgers had counter-strategies for exactly this type of response. Multiple movement signatures approaching from the north, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his sensors detecting additional biosignatures emerging from the tunnel network. Sir, I think we're looking at coordinated reinforcement behavior. These creatures are calling for backup. The tactical situation was becoming impossible. More tunnel pythons were emerging from underground positions throughout the area, and their coordination suggested a level of intelligence that human xenobiologists had never documented in serpentine species. The rescue team's weapons were ineffective, their ship was surrounded, and their only successful tactical asset was currently engaged in internal combat with a creature that was learning to counter his attacks. Jake made the decision that would either save them all or get them killed in the next 60 seconds. All personnel, advance toward the colony ship. We're not waiting for extraction. We're fighting our way through. Sir, Chief Williams protested. "We can't leave Bandit." "We're not leaving him," Jake replied, checking his equipment and preparing for what would either be the most successful rescue operation in galactic history or a spectacular failure that would be studied in military academies for generations. "We're giving him backup." As the rescue team prepared to advance into terrain controlled by creatures that evolution had designed to be perfect predators, the first tunnel python struggles suddenly became more violent, and Jake realized that Bandit had just found whatever he had been looking for inside the creature's anatomy. What happened next would redefine humanity's understanding of both Earth evolution and tactical partnerships across the galaxy. The first tunnel python's violent thrashing reached a crescendo, its massive body contorting in ways that suggested complete loss of motor control, and then it suddenly went completely limp. Not dead, but paralyzed, its nervous system systematically shut down by precise damage to neural pathways that Honeybadgers had evolved specifically to target. Bandit emerged from the creature's throat covered in biological fluids, but completely unharmed, his dark eyes bright with the satisfaction of a successful hunt. He paused on the tunnel python's immobilized head to clean his claws, then looked toward Jake with an expression that clearly communicated, "Next." The other tunnel python's reaction was immediate and revealed the depth of their intelligence. Instead of continuing their coordinated assault, they stopped their advance and began what could only be described as a tactical reassessment. These creatures had never encountered anything that could neutralize one of their own so quickly and completely, and their behavioral programming was struggling to categorize the threat. "How did he do that?" Dr. Okafor breathed, her scientific instruments detecting the paralyzed creature's continued life signs despite its complete immobility. Jake smiled as he watched Bandit begin his approach toward the second tunnel python. Honeybadgers don't fight to kill, they fight to disable. Evolution taught them to target specific neural clusters that control motor function. It's more efficient than trying to kill something 50 times your size. The second tunnel python, having witnessed its packmate's defeat, attempted a different strategy. Instead of engaging Bandit directly, it submerged back into its tunnel system, planning to emerge in an unexpected location for an ambush attack. But this tactical adjustment revealed another aspect of Honeybadger evolution that made them nearly impossible to defeat. Their hunting methodology wasn't dependent on visual contact or predictable terrain. Bandit immediately shifted to his underground tracking mode, pressing his sensitive nose to the ground and following scent trails that allowed him to map the creature's movement through the tunnel network. Within seconds, he had located the optimal interception point and began digging his own access tunnel with the mechanical efficiency of a living excavation machine. "He's going after it underground," Jake reported to his team, who were watching the proceedings with amazement. Honeybadgers are natural tunnel fighters. They actually have advantages in confined spaces. The third and fourth tunnel pythons, now fully understanding that their standard hunting patterns were ineffective, made the decision that would seal their fate. They attempted to coordinate a simultaneous attack, believing that overwhelming numbers would succeed where individual tactics had failed. They were wrong. Bandit's response to multiple opponents was to accelerate his attack cycle, moving between targets with a speed and determination that turned the battlefield into chaos. He would engage one creature just long enough to identify its specific vulnerability pattern, then immediately shift to the next target, building a tactical map of weaknesses that he could exploit in sequence. The tunnel pythons found themselves facing an opponent who seemed to be in multiple places simultaneously, striking at nerve clusters they didn't even know were vulnerable. Jake and his team took advantage of the creature's distraction to advance toward the colony ship, their route now clear as the tunnel pythons were fully committed to dealing with the small predator who was systematically dismantling their pack coordination. But as they reached the halfway point, Jake realized that Bandit was accomplishing something that went far beyond tactical victory. The Honeybadger wasn't just defeating individual tunnel pythons. He was teaching them that their evolutionary assumptions about predator-prey relationships were fundamentally flawed. Every time one of the massive creatures attempted to use size, strength, or environmental advantages, Bandit demonstrated that evolution had produced counter-strategies that made those advantages irrelevant. "Sir," Lieutenant Rodriguez called out, monitoring communications, "I'm getting scattered transmissions from the colony ship. They can see what's happening, and they're requesting permission to open their sealed hatches." Jake considered the tactical situation. 3 tunnel pythons were now immobilized by Bandit's systematic neural targeting, while the 4th was attempting to retreat back into the tunnel system. The coordinated pack that had terrorized the colonists for days was effectively neutralized by a single Earth animal that weighed less than most humans' luggage. "Grant permission," Jake replied, "but maintain security protocols. We don't know if there are additional creatures in the area." As the rescue team reached the colony ship and began coordinating with the survivors, Jake watched Bandit complete his systematic patrol of the area. The Honeybadger was methodically checking each immobilized tunnel python, ensuring that his neural targeting had been precise enough to guarantee long-term paralysis without causing permanent damage. It was a level of tactical sophistication that most galactic civilizations couldn't achieve with advanced military technology. Captain Morrison emerged from the colony ship, his face showing the exhaustion and stress of 3 days under siege. "Commander Sullivan, I don't understand what I just witnessed. Those creatures have been coordinating attacks against us since we landed. Our military advisors assured us that standard plasma weapons would be effective against any organic threats." Jake gestured toward Bandit, who was now engaged in his post-operation routine of scent marking the area to establish territorial boundaries that would discourage future incursions. "Captain, sometimes the most advanced technology in the galaxy is evolution. Honeybadgers have been refined by millions of years of combat against creatures specifically designed to kill them. They don't win through superior firepower. They win through superior tactics." As the rescue operation continued and the colonists were safely evacuated to the Salvation, word of Bandit's tactical victory began spreading through galactic communication networks. The story of a small Earth animal neutralizing apex predators that had resisted advanced military technology would become legendary, but more importantly, it would fundamentally change how humanity approached hostile world colonization. The partnership between human intelligence and Earth evolution had just announced itself to the galaxy as a force that could overcome challenges that technology alone couldn't handle. 3 months after the Serpentis Prime rescue, Jake Sullivan stood before the Galactic Colonial Defense Council, presenting his after-action report to an assembly of military leaders, xenobiologists, and colonial administrators from 17 different worlds. The data was unprecedented. A single Earth animal had accomplished what entire military units had failed to achieve on hostile worlds throughout human space. The tactical implications extend far beyond this single rescue operation, Jake explained, displaying holographic footage of Bandit's engagement with the tunnel pythons. Honeybadgers represent a biological solution to combat scenarios that our technology cannot address effectively. They've evolved specific behavioral patterns that counter predatory strategies across multiple alien ecosystems. Dr. Okafor, now promoted to Director of Interspecies Tactical Research, added her analysis. "What we witnessed on Serpentis Prime wasn't an anomaly, it was proof of concept. Earth evolution has produced specialists for virtually every survival scenario that colonial operations might encounter. We've been approaching hostile world challenges with industrial solutions when biological partnerships offer more effective alternatives." The assembled officials studied the combat footage with professional interest, watching as Bandit systematically disabled creatures that had rendered human military technology obsolete. Admiral Harrison, Senior Colonial Defense Coordinator, leaned forward in his chair. "Commander Sullivan, are you suggesting that we integrate Earth animals into standard colonial defense protocols?" "I'm suggesting that we've been thinking about colonization backwards," Jake replied. "We've been trying to impose human technology on alien environments, when we should be using Earth evolution to understand those environments. Every world has predators, and Earth has produced specialists to deal with every type of predator that evolution can create." The presentation concluded with footage from the evacuation operation, showing Bandit calmly patrolling the landing zone while colonists boarded the rescue ships. The tunnel pythons remained paralyzed but alive, their neural systems slowly recovering from the precise damage that had disabled their motor functions without causing permanent harm. It was a level of tactical precision that even advanced military technology couldn't replicate. Captain Morrison, now fully recovered from the Serpentis Prime ordeal, addressed the council via hologram. "Honorable delegates, I commanded colonial operations for 8 years before Serpentis Prime. I thought I understood the challenges of hostile world colonization. What I witnessed there changed my entire perspective on human survival in the galaxy. As Jake and his team left the council chambers, they were already receiving communications about new rescue operations requiring their unique capabilities. Colony ships throughout human space were encountering predators that conventional weapons couldn't handle, and word was spreading that Earth evolution had produced solutions that human technology had overlooked. But the Serpentis Prime incident was just the beginning. Jake's next mission would take him to a world where human medical knowledge had failed to treat injured alien wildlife, and where a single Earth creature would prove that sometimes the greatest weapons are compassion and evolutionary partnership rather than advanced technology. The galaxy was learning that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their ability to build better weapons, but their willingness to partner with creatures that evolution had already perfected for every survival challenge the universe could create. And somewhere in the Salvation's habitat bay, Bandit was sharpening his claws, ready for whatever impossible challenge they would face next. Because Honeybadgers don't care about impossible. They just care about getting the job done.